Hi, my name is Key Fitch, and welcome to the Pink Powerhouse Show, which is brought to you by Society Bites Radio, which is a part of the Radio Air Network family. Hey, today is a wonderful day. I have the privilege and honor of having a very dear friend of mine in the studio to talk about her journey into becoming cancer free. She was on the show a couple months ago, and it was under very different circumstances at the time. She was basically fighting for her life and undergoing a surgery that was very unique, extensive, and very complicated. But before we talk more about her journey, let me just talk a little bit more about her personally. Her name is Mara FULK. She was born and raised in Wisconsin, where she was a Montessori student from primary through the eighth grade. Being raised in a Montessori environment from school to home, it was an easy fit for her to look toward Montessori for her career. Mara relocated to Bradenton in 2002 and has been a huge influence in the educational community since then. That's where I had the honor of getting to know her because she happened to be an educator and administrator for my kids at Center Montessori School, where she currently is the administrator. Mara has always been active. She's always worked out, and she's had a life of adventure and travel. But she noticed somewhere in September, her body just didn't feel the same. In her words, she kept having these feelings of just being tired, and she was just very lethargic. Unfortunately, Mara was diagnosed, and you're gonna help me say this.
Of course.
Leiomyosarcoma. Sarcoma. She was diagnosed on September 11th, actually. Her battle began, and the prognosis was not good. Local specialists here, they informed her that her mass was very complicated, and it was woven into her abdomen, engulfing her pancreas, her spleen, intestines, stomach, and the portal vein, which is a major vein. And needless to say, the surgery at that time was not an option. They pretty much said there's nothing they can do. So after 16 rounds of unsuccessful chemotherapy and many more doctor appointments, Mara found her way to MD Anderson, which is based in Houston, where she was able to convince the lead sarcoma surgeon to attempt the surgery. And when she was here, welcome, Mara. First, let me say that.
Thank you so much.
When she was here previously, she was literally just hours before going into surgery.
It was the night before.
And it was scary, because nobody knew what they would find when they actually opened you up.
Mm-hmm.
What percentage, they didn't know what they would find if they could even do anything.
Is
that right?
That's correct. The whole day prior to surgery basically consisted of consecutive doctor's appointments.
Yeah.
Where I was told numerous times that the surgery that would be attempted on the 17th of April was just because Dr. Christina Rowland, the head of sarcoma at MD Anderson, was taking a chance on me.
Taking a chance.
And I said, okay. And they said, we give you about a 50-50 chance.
50-50.
And I said, well, it's 50% more than I had yesterday.
Yeah.
So the doctors were pretty clear about the struggles that they were all going to have, from the portal vein specialist to the pancreatic specialist to the liver doctor to the general surgeons that were going to be taking place. There was 4 heads of surgery in my surgery, and they all said, well, you must have done something right because you got Dr. Rowland to say yes to you. And I said, well, I just do whatever I can do, and if it works, it works.
Yeah.
And so 50-50 was my chance.
Yeah.
And I lucked out because I got the 50%. That is the reason I'm sitting here.
And that's so, I can't even imagine the mindset before going in and then the mindset waking up. And I'm telling you, we got it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even imagine. So what's you don't know is that she has a page, and we'll talk about that later, but her husband he was pretty much giving us all updates as the surgery was
really?
going. Oh, we got all kind of texts. I felt like we were there.
Oh.
So Keith would tell us they just this doctor just went back and they did this. We had step by step, and we were all like on pins and needles because we didn't know. But when they said that they got it, that was just like, it was overwhelming. And so I know it was overwhelming for you. So when you woke up.
Right, the wake up. Well, so there's a few things that I can explain about waking up from surgery. And now this was literally my first major surgery.
Yeah.
My children are adopted. I've never birthed a child. I've never been in the hospital. I had a very, outpatient laparoscopic deal on my knee, but that's really it. And it was made really clear the second I checked in for surgery that my surgery was something special.
Yeah.
All of the rooms where people go to check in are curtained off with, no walls. There's just a curtain in between, and they all share a bathroom. And I was brought to a corner room with a door, private bathroom, lounge chairs for my whole family to be there. And I was like, why is this a little different? And the head of the anesthesiology came in and said, you are going to be on the highest dose of anesthesia. And unfortunately, what that means is you will be put on life support because at any point, your body might not be working because, of the trauma of the surgery and the high amounts of anesthesia. Because they were working on my portal vein, what that meant was my blood was rerouted outside of my body so they could work on that vein. And my surgery took about 10 and a half hours.
10 and a half hours.
10 and a half hours. Oh. Thankfully, prior to the surgery, the lead surgeon told my husband and I that when he would be getting updates, which were going to be every, couple hours, that they would ask him actually to come back to a room.
Yeah.
It was a really great piece of information because when and I haven't done it, what I can imagine is that when my family and my husband was sitting in the waiting room for 10 hours, that being asked to come back to a room could be a little nerve-wracking. So it was made really clear, don't worry about being asked to come back to a room. That's where we give you the information.
Yeah.
So when I woke up, it was so interesting to see, first of all, I didn't see anything because my eyes were closed and you're really out of it. But I heard many doctors around me saying my name, saying they wanted to get my family, asking me to wake up, telling me that they were going to take the lines out of my neck. They were going to we got to get this line out of her neck before her husband comes back. I remember that.
You're like, what?
I'm like, out of my neck.
Get my neck? What's happening?
And then, so I began to come alert, and I remember hearing, my husband say my name, and I remember not opening my eyes, but I remembered him holding my hand, and I just said, did they get it? Did they get it?
Yeah.
And he, of course, was crying.
Of course he was.
And he
I'm
was
about to cry now.
Right, I know. And he's touching my head, and he's going, they got it, baby. They got it all. And so I was like, holy moly. And then the next thing I remember is I went to give him a hug, and I moved my arms, and I've now, mind you, I have a incision from my sternum to below my navel. I have about an 18-inch incision. Okay. I had been in surgery for 10 some hours.
Yeah.
And at that moment, all that I could do was cry because my arms hurt so bad. And I was so confused.
Yeah.
I was like, what's happening? Why do my arms hurt? They didn't do surgery on my arms, but my brain began to work thinking maybe they took a vein from my arm to put into because they said we may take veins from your arm. You may take veins from your neck. My sister was there who's in the medical profession, and she said, no, Mar, they didn't touch any veins. Because you were in such extensive surgery, you were strapped down to the table, stretched out in such a manner where you can't, of course,
can't move.
You can't move at all. And so being, not, being in that position for so long was the first thing really, like when people say, what was it like when you woke up? And all I can say is like, heck, my arms really hurt.
And they're like, what?
I was very glad that they got the tumor, but
And so now you're alive,
I'm alive.
and life for you is different than
Life for me
before
is,
cancer.
yeah, life for me is different in many different
Yeah.
ways. For obvious reasons, when you
Right.
go through a trauma or a crisis, you change
You definitely
emotionally,
change. You're a different
spiritually,
person.
mentally.
Things are
Exactly.
not that big of a deal anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
The different priorities
Yeah,
take precedence. The biggest change for me is also physical.
Right.
So when they did the surgery, they did end up doing a total pancreatectomy, which means they took my whole pancreas. They took my whole spleen. They took a third of my stomach. They took 25 centimeters of my intestines, and they were able to just repair the portal vein instead of doing what they thought they were going to have to do, which was actually replace a partial part of my portal vein with a cadaveric vein. There is no medical reason why I'm sitting here. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. They went in, and they were very clear that if the mass was pliable and squishy, that they were going to be able to take it out. But if it had any depth to it or solidness at that, they would not get it.
Yeah.
And because it was wrapped so cleanly around the portal vein, when they went in, the mass was pliable only around the portal vein, which was the only place that they actually. There's no way they could have done surgery if they couldn't have got to the portal vein.
Yeah.
It peeled off the portal vein.
Wow.
But it did not. Yeah. So I mean, there's many different miracles in the story. Many different miracles. So I live now as a type 1 diabetic.
Type 1 diabetic.
I live with a lot less organs than anybody else.
Yeah.
What that means for me is that, my diet has changed.
It's very strict now, right?
It's pretty strict.
Yeah.
But really, when I think about it, it's really how we all should eat.
Yeah.
When we look at what health means to us as women and men and children, and we look at what we put in our bodies, the amount of food that if you go to a restaurant and you get, how many of us go home with a to-go box, right?
Yeah.
The amount of food that we in this culture are conditioned to take in is way more than we ever need. Hence the reason why we have obesity and lots of type 2 and type 1 diabetics. And the choices that we make for our diet affects our health. And so really, when I look at what I eat now, it's fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, fish, olives, cheeses, nuts, chicken once in a while, and maybe red meat once in a while.
Yeah.
I do very low sugar intake. I do very low carb intake. That being said, let's be honest, I really like sugars and carbs. But
I think most of us do.
Most of us do. But they're just not an option for me.
Yeah.
So, that part is different for me. I've been cleared to now work out. I used to be extremely active.
Yeah.
So I'm getting back to that part of my life. I just did my first spin class with you.
She was awesome. She came on yesterday and she did a great job. She had a lot of women looking at her, making sure she was fine.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that's going to be a learning curve.
Yeah.
Getting back to my activity level.
Yeah. But you did great.
But really, I think the biggest thing that changes for you when you have, and it's, everyone says, I don't want to complain to you about what's going on with me because of what happened to you. Everybody has a journey.
Yeah.
Everybody, you, me, people we don't even know, have a journey. And it's up to us as people to figure out, how can I do the best job that I can do? And how can I live in this moment just as it is, not expecting anything, not wanting for, not wishing that, or I should have, how can I get the acceptance to just live how I am?
Yeah.
And I have to say, it's probably where I'm at right now. It's just loving my life, and just, I wake up every morning and I feel extremely grateful.
I bet you do.
Extremely grateful.
We're grateful that you're here with us. I mean, that was. I mean, we said you're going to have an incredible story, and well, you got it. You got that story. So now you have to share it, and you have to inspire people.
Right. That's the thing. And my goal is to just touch as many people as I
Yeah.
can, and that's been my lifelong goal.
Yep.
I mean,
Well,
this is, I've
you've
always been
done
this
it.
way.
So yeah,
You've known me.
yeah.
And, but, when I walk into hospitals or just today, I had to go, my journey is